All right. Hey, everybody. I guess I am leading off here. Hey, everybody. How's it going? We are the North Side Bound team, and this is our June roundtable. We got Jimmy Nelligan over there. We got Todd Johnson, Greg Zumak, and Greg Huss joining you this month. It's been a while since we've hosted one of these roundtables, I guess. I mean, we said we were going to do more, but maybe, hey, this is the start of a trend, I guess, right?
Just something to look forward to.
There you go. There you go. So we figured since it's been a while, we wanted to sit down and talk about things. Right now, it's a pretty hopping time in the system. We've got a lot of promotions all over the place. Todd was tracking those on Tuesday, all throughout the day, to make sure that we knew who was being promoted where. We've seen guys get promoted up to the big leagues. We've seen guys get promoted up down in the minor leagues. All sorts of good stuff. So I guess we'll probably lead off this roundtable with that topic since it seems pretty relevant to the times. I guess I'll kick it to you guys. I'll kick it to Jimmy first, because you're first on my screen here. But you want to talk about? I'll give you the chance to talk about one of the guys that was promoted up to the big leagues pretty recently. You can talk about Matt Swarmer if you want to. You don't have
Oh,
to
I
talk
was
about
gonna
Matt
do
Swarmer.
it.
What do you want to talk about as far as big league promotions?
I'll talk about Matt Swarmer. He's kind of just been that like bulldog in the system, kind of just been like that innings eater, and it's really cool to kind of see him finally get his shot up in Chicago. And we really just needed a body to go in there and give us a lot of innings and a lot of pitches and kind of save the bullpen a little bit. And I think Swarmer did more than that, honestly, going 6 innings. The defense didn't really do him any favors, but he kind of just really stuck with his game. On Twitter, someone asked who was Matt Swarmer to me, and I said leg kicks and sliders. That's all you need to know. And he just threw his slider 50% of the time. He had his Bronson Royal leg kick, and he did everything that we asked him to do. Obviously, the result wasn't there because we didn't really get the win. But I think as far as what we called on him to do, he did it for us, and it was just kind of really cool to see that. He's just kind of been that organization guy that a lot of guys within the system kind of love. He has a really cool story throwing in 2020 in the Wood Bat League, and just seeing him go up there and compete and give us a chance to win was really cool. So I'm on the Matt Swarmer bandwagon right now. I don't know when he'll get his opportunity again to throw for the Cubs, but I think, maybe in the future, depending on, where we're at with injuries and whatnot, maybe he gets another shot.
I saw something was like he did something that was very similar to a Dallas Beeler fill-in start way back when, and I was like, that's pretty spot on. A Dallas Beeler comp there. I like that. But I don't know, Todd, who's caught your eye up at the major league level as far as prospects go?
Well, before he was injured, Ethan Roberts. But this weekend, I was really happy to see Brandon Hughes get back because I thought that he was fairly good in that slider just plays. I mean, it does. And that's a testament to the pitching program and how many guys that the Cubs now have that were homegrown, and there's more coming. You think about Leapers on the IL, but he's more than ready. And then you've got a couple more coming. Yuri Ramos just got promoted to AAA this weekend. But seeing Brandon Hughes get back, I think, is really fulfilling because, one, it's such a great story, and two, his stuff plays at the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the kind of pitch lab taking over with his slider. I know non-prospect fans love to hate on the pitch lab, but I mean, it's kind of showing itself pretty well on the major league level at this point, in my opinion. Zumak, what do you think? I mean, we haven't mentioned either Christopher Morel or Nelson Velasquez first. So I mean,
Yeah, well, I've never
you
heard
got
of
to do
either
it,
of
right?
those guys. So certainly not a Chris Morel or Nelson Velasquez. Now, these guys are electric, and talk about pure energy. Chris Morel is pure electricity. He is incredible out there. So I gotta give Chris Morel a huge shout out because I admittedly have been a little bit. I've probably been the lowest on Chris Morel, maybe out of this group. Still liked him, still had him in my top 25. Like he's still high ceiling guy that I thought could make the majors. Well, he's made the majors, but what he's done is have incredible swing decisions. And that is a different Chris Morel.
Yeah,
And that is a Chris Morel with unbelievable projection in the future because the physical gifts are there, right? Like he, no one is Javi Baez. No one's Javi Baez. But he's got that electricity that Javi Baez has. He's got the power. He's got the absolute athleticism, the speed. He can play really impressive defense in multiple positions. So we already knew he had that. But what didn't he have? Well, he didn't have strong swing decisions. It was very based on athleticism. Now he's absolutely spitting on sliders on the outside corner. And if he's able to continue to incorporate a lot of that stuff, there's going to be some regression, right? Like major league pitchers are just too good to not be able to adapt a little bit and then you have to adapt back. But to see what he's been doing up there is incredible. And so I'm so pumped for him. He's put in a ton of work behind the scenes and I it's amazing. I do want to
Would you say that
echo
he has the power and the speed to be the best in the National League?
at least one of the top five. Yeah, I'm totally just gonna glance over that. Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll rename we'll rename the song all about Chris Morel. He has all those tools, and yeah, it's a ton of fun. Brandon Hughes, I gotta echo Todd on that. I think that's great, and we wrote a piece for Northside Bound where we kind of looked at some data behind the scenes from the minor leagues. That's held steady. We've been double checking that, and it's matched up with where we were on Statcast. Slider plays, and the fastball plays better than you think, which is really interesting based on that data. So make sure to read that piece. But I got to admit, I can't do this without talking about Anderson Espinoza, who has battled back from an unbelievable amount of injuries, COVID season, and everything else to come up to the majors and looked pretty good. He shook off a little bit of nerves and kind of really was in command of the game for a bit after that. So, like, no matter what happens, that guy's earned it. And just seriously, all the props in the world.
Yeah, I mean, like, pretty insane that he went from missing 4 years to performing the major league level. Whether he was ready for the major league spot start or like spot outing or not is a different story. But Jimmy, what do you think about Espinoza?
Oh, I was just going to say, who would have thought at the start of the year that the two guys that were just going to basically skip AAA and go right to the Cubs would be Anderson Espinoza and Chris Morel?
Yeah, that's wild.
That's just, that is wild. And I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not so much with like Espinoza, but I think Morel has a, chance to kind of just stay up there in Chicago. Just the way that he's been playing, he's been a real big spark for them. And even with Brandon Hughes, who we've talked about, we're really thin in the bullpen with lefties. And I mean, I think Hughes could probably be like one of our best left-handed options now, honestly. I think he has a spot to stay with us also.
Yeah,
But as far as Anderson Espinoza, yeah, I mean, he gave us, I mean, besides, just being a really cool story, I mean, same thing with kind of Swarmer. He needed to fill in. He needed to give us some innings. Smiley hurt his oblique, and we needed a guy to just give us 3-4 innings. And I mean, he did that. Fastball command was a little bit spotty. We've kind of seen that in the past with Anderson Espinoza. But I mean, all things considered, I mean, he did the same thing as, Matt Swarmer. He kept us in the ball game. He ate some innings for us when we were pretty thin on the mound. And, he kind of just did everything we asked him to do.
Todd, what are you gonna say?
I don't remember.
No, I guess I mean the only one who hasn't been mentioned I'll talk a little bit about is Nelson Velasquez, which is, I mean, that's a pretty cool story in itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've covered Nelson Velasquez plenty between the four of us over at Northside Bound or elsewhere, and I mean it's just one of those things where I think he was on everybody's radar prior to 2021 to a certain degree, right? I think we all noticed like that he had power. It just like he wasn't hitting home runs, which was wild and frustrating to a certain degree. And then he came out and in 2021 just like set the world on fire, right? I mean, arguably the second place finisher for Cubs minor league player of the year last year, and then wins the AFL MVP, all that good stuff. And I mean, it's just, to me, Nelson Velasquez, I've heard people compare what like we're hoping to see from Nelson Velasquez to Patrick Wisdom, and I see it. I see that a lot. I mean, he's a guy that's going to strike out a ton, and that he's always done that. Like he's going to strike out a ton. He may bring it down to like as close to league average rates as humanly possible, but he's going to strike out more than the league average, regardless of any swing changes that he's made over the past couple of years. But just the fact that he's gonna light up the Statcast leaderboards, man. Like the amount of power, like the exit velos are gonna be crazy. Like hard hit rates are gonna be through the roof. Like that's gonna be fun. But I know Zumac, you've covered Velasquez's like swing changes. What do you think about him and if he can cut down that strikeout rate significantly? Because like that strikeout rate, that it's his profile. We talked about it, Jimmy and I, on the Growing Cubs podcast recently, that his his profile is it's razor thin as to like what his role is in Chicago because of the high strikeout rates and the big power. So like, what do you think about his swing changes and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we had a really fun piece last October. We got in touch with some individuals with the Cubs, and then alongside with some teammates, and just watched some video. And yeah, so the Patrick Wisdom comp is actually like really spot on, and the holes in their swing entering 2021 is very similar to the top of the zone. And so I think I can share this. Like one of the strategies is just more about managing the top of the zone, and you've seen the Cubs try to do that a little bit more last year with Patrick Wisdom, where it's just like, hey, look, if some guy's going to beat you up top with 96 right at the top of the zone, then they're going to beat you at 96. And sometimes that just happens. It's all about pitchers executing their spots. But what was worked on with Velasquez behind the scenes was swing changes and that approach to managing it. And then like something just totally kicked. And then he was launching those balls. That being said, it's still going to be a process. And I do think everything you said is right. Like it's a razor thin profile, but he has more athleticism than what people give him credit for. I was in kind of a chat the other day with somebody, and we were basically saying throw Velasquez out in center field. He can honestly do it. 2 minutes later, Ian Happ made this absolutely incredible play. So that's good. Obviously, if I can,
Ian Happ shouldn't be in center field though.
Yeah, I don't think Ian.
I'm not convinced about Ian Happ in left field for what it's worth. So sorry, I just had to put that in there.
That's a whole other can of worms. But yeah, so like you could throw Velasquez in center field. Like that's surprising. People look at him and just think he's this. He's not Glenn Allen Hill. He's actually like really no disrespect to Glenn Allen Hill. I would never, because he would find me and break me in two pieces. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like Velasquez is an athletic guy. He's got some speed. He's actually pretty solid in the outfield, and so that can only help. And so I think give him a little bit of patience. For anybody listening here, give him a little bit of patience. He's going to strike out more, but this is the season to see what Nelson Velasquez can do. Because I mean, spoiler alert, it's not really working out well for the Cubs this year. So, like, see what your guys can do, and maybe you'll be surprised. Like, look at what Chris Morel is doing. So, yep.
Yeah, Todd, I want to kick it to you for one last kind of thought on the guys that have been promoted up to the bigs, if you have one.
Yeah. Well, I think for Morel, I think the key word there is maturity. I mean, he's always been a fun kid, always been an energetic kid, but he grew up. And that's a hard thing to account for from a development standpoint, is they grow up differently. I mean, I see it every day in my regular job. Kids grow and mature at different paces. And to see him lay off a pitch or go the other way with it, which he has done quite a few times, is miraculous. But I also think that we're not done seeing a parade of prospects up in Wrigley. I mean, Brian Hudson is ready. Brian Hudson is ready for Chicago. Let's just cut to the chase. And, Ben Leeper is ready for Chicago. Let's get these guys up there. Let's get them locked in this year and get their feet wet.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to hit on, so we're getting a whole bunch of questions that are sent to us on Twitter, so we'll probably get to some of those. But Todd had raised a good question for the group here that I want to dig in on one of these first, because it does a really good job of kind of all-encompassing our thoughts about like the system as of like this year. Ask about which prospects might no longer be on your next list, and which ones might no longer be on your next prospect list, and which ones are going to be added to the prospect list next time we come out with them. Todd, I'll kick it to you first since it's your question. Do you have thoughts on who's being added, who's being subtracted? What do you got?
Yeah. I know who I'm adding, and that's Moises Ballesteros. Ballesteros. I think he's one that I'm probably going to add for sure. And I don't know about Arizona. Phil just won't shut up about Michael Arias. Have you heard him talk about this kid? He's the former shortstop in the Blue Jay system, and he pitched in the Dominican last year and is now out in Arizona. And he just sits at 99 and 100 every extended spring training game. So a lot of these guys, I think, are gonna we're gonna see over the next 2 months. Bryce Ball is someone to consider. Is Matt Mervis prospect list worthy? He not really showing a sign of slowing down at Double A. Um, some of the pitchers have fallen through, while others like Cam Sanders, who I've had on a prospect list before at the back end of the teens on my 21 list, does he get back on the list? So then you have to. There are others that you're concerned about that are just not playing. At what point do they stay on the list? At what point do they go off? Your
Yeah.
Braylon Marquez and Miguel Amaya types.
Yeah, the health concerns is the big thing for me as far as a guy sticking around on a list. I don't know, Zumak, you have any thoughts on guys potentially being added, potentially being subtracted from your prospect list?
So Todd threw out Bryce Ball, and I really like that. And that's actually I hadn't considered Moises Ballesteros, but that was a fantastic call as well. I'm really strongly leaning towards Bryce Ball on my next list, and with a lot of credit also to Matt Mervis. I don't want to like lump them in together, but really what the Cubs have done in building first base depth is actually pretty impressive. Between that and
Yeah.
all these guys in like the last year, so kudos to them. This is a good question, Todd, but it's a question that tugs on the heartstrings a little bit. And I'll say a
Yeah.
name that Greg Huss may jump through the computer at me,
Oh
but I'm
no.
very concerned about the profile, and it's Ryan Jensen. And I love the guy, and he is an unbelievable competitor. Is he still a prospect in the system? Absolutely. Do I want to discount him? No. But I do really wonder if a relief role will just let him shine. And then at that point, just like how I view prospects might knock him down rankings. Um, totally still in my top 50, in my top 40, probably top 30. But like if we're doing a top 20, you might not make that. So that's, I hope I'm wrong because I love the guy,
Yeah.
but that's kind of where I'm at right there.
I'll hop in real quick before I send it to Jimmy just to address the Ryan Jensen in the room. I'm the thing. My thing with Ryan Jensen is that for the last 2 seasons, I mean, season and few months now, I've just been so confused. And I've said it to you guys. I've said it to other people too. Like I'm just so confused by his profile. So confused by it. And I was not someone like we went back. Jimmy and I went back and listened to our first Growing Cubs episode. And it was I believe it was right or it was soon after the Cubs had drafted Ryan Jensen, right?
Yep.
It was after that draft. And I was pretty skeptical of Ryan Jensen, just assuming just bullpen, straight to the bullpen, stuff like that. And I feel like I stayed on that trajectory of him for a while. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? This dude just all he does is get strikeouts and ground balls. And I really like that profile, right? Of the strikeouts and ground balls, strikeouts and ground balls. Because we saw Cubs pitching prospects get killed by the fly ball. We saw Corey Abbott and Tyson Miller and Matt Swarmer to a certain degree, right? We saw them get killed by the fly ball, so I was intrigued by that. But to me, it's just like every single ball that goes in the air off of Ryan Jensen goes out of the ballpark. Like not really, but like damn near, you know. And it's just that's frustrating to me, and I still can't explain that away really, especially without having some of those the advanced analytic data on him on his pitches and stuff. But yeah, so I'm concerned by Ryan Jensen, not enough to bump him off my list. I'm looking at my list now, and Anderson Espinoza, who we've already talked about here, I snuck him in the back end of my list. Just I'm a little concerned with the health kind of catching up to him, and really more than anything, it's just like he's running out of time. You know, it's less about like I think that the talent is there with Anderson Espinoza, but he's a 40-man roster guy. He's what 24, 25 at this point. Like he's just running out of time, right? And so that's what concerns me. But I completely agree. I'm with you with the Bryce Ball being added somewhere. Bryce Ball he's been too good this year to not get added in the back end of my top 25 probably. Jimmy, what do you got over there?
I'm trying to think guys that are on my list that I might take off. Might start with those guys.
Pete Crow Armstrong, probably.
Yeah, get PC out of there.
Yeah, get him out of
I'm
there.
thinking like Mogu,
Yep.
Valencia, Braylon Marquez. Those guys were kind of, I think, a little. I think I was really high on Braylon Marquez on my list now, and that's kind of like looking back, it's like, ugh. I think those guys kind of might be struggling to find a spot in the list now, and I think guys I would add. I think you're all right about Bryce Ball and someone that I was really close to adding. I think I had Palencia at 25, and I went back and forth between either Palencia or Luke Little, and I think Luke Little has kind of earned a
Yeah.
spot on a list. Just what he's done at low A has been. I mean, he's just been like unhittable. Basically, he's either going to walk a guy or he's going to strike him out. Basically, and his fastball command has been a lot better than I was kind of expecting it to be at the start of the year. And I think he just looks a lot more just mature, like just stuff wise, the slider, the fastball, just kind of everything. It seems like he's just kind of above low A. And I'd probably find a spot to kind of sneak Luke Little in there, but I think you're right about Bryce Ball. I think he, just what he's done this year, I think he's definitely earned a spot. And I mean, those are really just kind of like the two guys that are really like jumping out to me right now.
Luke
Cam
Little's a good
Sanders,
one.
I think, is another one. That's another really good one. He's been incredible, and I think he's another guy too that we might see in Chicago at some point this year. Yeah, I think those three names for sure.
Yeah, Luke Little's a good one. Luke Little's a prime example of he is who we thought he was. Like I guess a little bit to like what we had hoped he was, but like yeah, that's a good one. I honestly didn't even think about that, but I did not include him. I know Jimmy, you talking about guys that might fall off. I think you had included it at the back end. Vizcaino, Alexander Vizcaino, which that's just another category of like, all right, what do we do with a guy who hasn't pitched yet this year? That's a different category of like, why has he not pitched? But that's another example of you gotta play. And right now it's been super tough over the past few seasons with the COVID year mixed in.
Yeah, he's the tough guy. I really like his changeup though. I mean, he grips it like a changeup, but it's more just kind of like a splitter. I mean, he throws it like 90 miles an hour, and he's another kind of power arm. I think he'll end up probably being a bullpen guy long term, but I mean, he's another guy where like the stuff is just so good. I mean, he could be like a back of the bullpen kind of guy, and just like you mentioned, like there's just so many guys like that we've had on our lists, like Marquez, Amaya, Vizcaino, like all these kind of guys. But the talent is there. We just need to see them play, and we just haven't really seen that this year. And with a system that's a lot more talented than it's been in the past, I think it's a lot easier to kind of find room for these other guys that have been performing well this year. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense. That's just kind of just what happens when your system's that deep.
I wonder how much like COVID regulations are keeping some of these players abroad, whether that's Vizcaino or Jaramillo. Because, I mean, see him, he's posting videos nonstop of him and his girlfriend, and it doesn't look like, there's any hospital or him in the baseball at all. So I don't know. I wonder what is going on there. And because, I mean,
it's strange.
It is weird. Because, I mean, when I talked to Vizcaino in Beloit last year, he had pitched and they had just taken him off for a shoulder, which he'd had trouble with in the Yankees. But that would necessitate an IL stint, not a restricted list. So
yeah.
I
think that's a great question that you posed to begin with here, Todd. I mean, I think that we're at a good spot in the season, right? Like we're at a good spot in the season where we can kind of, it's not like a snap reaction to some of these good performances. Like Bryce Ball has put it together for a while, and it's very clear like what he is doing, right? How he's intentionally being more aggressive and stuff like that. I think that we're at the point in the season where these guys that have been playing all season long, they're pushing 150 plate appearances by this point, right? So that's not a small. I mean, like it's in the grand scheme of things, it is a small sample size, but it's enough that we can react to it and not look like idiots in reacting that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
Well, we could. We always look like idiots, but
it helps out.
All right, guys. There's a whole bunch of questions we got from people on Twitter coming in. I want to take this time here. We got a lot because Zumac, you posted it. So we got a lot of draft questions in here. So I'm gonna swing to the draft. We're gonna take this middle portion of this episode here to focus on draft. Maybe do some rapid fires with draft. Zumac and Todd, you guys down for that?
Draft lightning round between you and I, Todd. Rock it out.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
So I think first of all we'll address. We got a question from a few different people here. What with the Cubs' first pick at number 7 this year, as of today is May 31st as we're recording this. Who do you guys have as the Cubs taking with that number 7 overall pick? I'll start with Todd.
I'm going Cam Collier right now.
Okay.
I agree with Jim Mayo or Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis. I think the Cubs are going to want to get that. I don't think they're going to get him at slot level. They might get a little bit below, but because right now he's slated somewhere around 11, 12, 13. So might just be a few $100,000, but it'll be pretty close to slot. But I think the idea of getting someone who's just 17, who's played against advanced competition that's 2, 3 years older than him all spring, and he's done really well at one of the best programs in the country. And the fact that he's going to be playing in the Cape next week is only going to add to his resume. So that's who I think. And then my plan B option would probably be Young from Texas Tech.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Collier took the Bryce Harper GED to junior college route, right? That's why
Yeah.
he's so young playing at junior college. So, Zumac, what do you think? Are you a Collier guy? You were actually the first person I'd heard talk about Cam Collier way back when. But who do you got? The Cubs as of today, May 31st.
So yeah, if I had to just make a complete stab right now, it'd be Cam Collier. I just think like with a numbers game and where people will be, uh, that he's a good bet. If he's not there, it's actually likely because he may have gotten taken by Pittsburgh at 4, which forces some guys down. And one of the guys that, and there's a question on this. I just peeked at Twitter and it was asking about Termar Johnson potentially falling. It's something that I had mocked in December and didn't really feel possible, but might. And he may be there, and I think that he fits a lot of what the Cubs look for. So I think Cam Collier. I think Jamar Johnson potentially if he kind of falls down the boards, and then here's one that I haven't heard anybody spout off, but I'll say it's a bit of a deep cut, or it might feel that way, and that's Justin Crawford, who could potentially be a pick at 7. And Justin Crawford, the son of Carl Crawford. So if you want to feel old,
Yeah.
he's yeah, that's pretty crazy. These bloodlines are crazy this draft. That would not shock me. I'll say
I
that.
like it. I like it. I like the blood. You're right. The bloodlines are. I mean, between him and you got Drew
Drew
Jones, and you
Jones,
got Matt
Jackson,
Holliday's son. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He's the bloodlines are running deep. I mean, so Zumac, you mentioned Tamar Johnson. We'll keep running here with the lightning round. We did get a question about why Tamar Johnson appears to be falling on draft list. Is like what do you guys think about Tamar Johnson potentially falling down the board?
So is it okay if I take this
He's
one?
a second baseman.
Yeah.
He's a
What Todd
second
start?
baseman for one, and
Yeah.
is that is he going to hit for enough power? Mason McRae's was probably the last one I saw, and his list came out yesterday, and he had him like 12, 13. So it's not out of the question that he could pop back up because, we're still, what is it, 6 weeks as of Sunday? This Sunday is 6 weeks to the draft. So
Yes.
a lot can happen in 6 weeks. Personal workouts. Um, I doubt if Tamar plays in the draft league or anywhere else, but once he starts going to personal workouts, he could go back up pretty easily.
Yeah, so we're going to probably hear a lot of chatter in the next weeks or so because teams can have players on site or working out for him, I think until June 10th, and then after that, nothing. So they can talk to players, but they can't have that. And then the draft combine is right after that. And
Oh
so
yeah, I forgot about
yeah, and so we're gonna probably get some info. I think Todd, everything Todd said was right. It's the second base profile, but he's not a butcher out there. Like he's actually really smooth. It's just that he's probably gonna project out to second base. It's very hit tool reliant, but like the power is there. And then, and Kylie McDaniel has summarized this pretty well. Is that he doesn't really do a lot of exciting things, and he's playing in a league that isn't like Drew Jones in Georgia, and so the issue is that the opponents are they're just not pitching to him, or he's not getting a lot of pop
that.
time to really
Probably
showcase in
wouldn't
front
either.
of people, and he's kind of falling down boards. Maybe that benefits the Cubs, who in the last two drafts have taken guys that were projected to be a couple picks higher. Ed Howard,
Mhm.
we thought right around the time he's going to go to the Angels or the White Sox. He didn't 10 or 11. And Jordan Wicks, I mean, pretty much very few people thought he was going to last pack like 14, 15, lands in the Cubs. Maybe that just benefits them this year.
I mean, you saw our reactions on the live draft show the past 2 years. I mean, we've
that.
we've been pleasantly surprised with the guys falling down the draft board and landing in the Cubs' lap. I do want there's two more questions that I want to cover here as far as draft goes, pretty quick. The one is basically asking about the four categories, right? High school bat, high school arm, college bat, college arm. Zumac, I'll start with you on this one. You want to give just four names, not necessarily four guys that will be drafted number seven, but like fulfilling those four categories, guys you just like in high school bat, high school arm, college bat, college arm.
Yeah, totally. All right. College bat, I'll do a deeper cut. Somebody that maybe some people have not heard of, but is kind of right in that line. I really like Clark Elliott out of Michigan. He does everything right, and he's got some power. He's got great chase rates. He's just a great player. I I might be a little bit higher on him than most, but I think if you can get him there at 47, he's awesome. High school bat, somebody that we haven't talked about, Tucker Toman. I have a first round grade on him. I think teams now have a first round grade on him. Just a really impressive South Carolina shortstop, probably third baseman. Put on this incredible show in front of scouts. Just it was like moonlight. It was like the natural, just hitting into the dusk in front of scouts. Really wowed a ton of people. High school arm. Give me a second on that. College arm. Thomas Harrington out of Campbell. Probably a first
Yeah,
round guy. I might have just
Go
stolen
Humps.
Todd's. That's right. And he combines a lot of things that people do, or that the Cubs and Cleveland like, because Carter Hawkins, they brought him over as GM. The secret to pitching, everybody joked about that. Well, he has actually been working with really impressive pitching scouting, so they'd be silly not to listen to some thoughts on him. He has some components that Kantrovitz's draft strategy would like, and that Hawkins would like. So Thomas Harrington, last one I'll throw out there. Jr. Ian Ritchie. Ian Jr. is what he goes by. Ritchie, who does a little bit of everything. And now I'm actually regretting not mentioning another guy, but he also
I got your back.
all right, awesome. Todd's got me. And but Richie really does combine everything that you look for, and he's incorporates control with power in a really impressive way. I won't comment anything on signability, but he's a guy that I would be all over if I was the Cubs. Todd, take it away.
Now, is this for the first round or is this
I
in
interpreted
general?
this as I changed it up. I interpreted it as just in general, just four guys you'd like, not necessarily will be a because it's tough with the Cubs drafting seventh. I think as I've been like researching these guys, it's been really tough because like there's only a small number of guys that the Cubs are going to take at number seven because they're so early in the draft. That's what you get
Yeah.
for sucking so much. But then, like, you have a big long drop off for the Cubs' next pick. So you have this huge group of guys that is I really like in like the late first round, but it doesn't matter that I like them in the late first round. So yeah, just guys you like, Todd.
I really like Brooks Lee, shortstop from Cal Poly. I don't think he's going to make it to the Cubs, um, but there is another man in the late 30s, early 40s. named Jacob Melton from Oregon State, who is
Mm.
a rather large fellow at
Who? No,
6'3",
I'm just
208. Hits from the left hand side, so I like him. As far as a prep arm, there's two I like. Noah Schultz from nearby Oswego, and then Walter Ford, who I think his asking price is going to be fairly high. He's slated in the 40s, and he goes by the nickname. Help me out here, Greg.
the Vanilla
Oh, the
Missile,
Vanilla
which is
Missile.
worth an extra billion in draft bonus by itself, as far as I'm concerned. Don't
Yeah,
quote me on that, but it might be worth it.
yeah. I like those two as prep pitchers, along with J.R. Ritchie. And then for a college pitcher, I also like the Dukanich kid from Indiana, who's a high school pitcher. But I think for college pitchers, um, the kid from Campbell, I think, would be a good pick. But Adam Mazur's probably the most projectable because he can gain so much weight. Um, he's really unpredictable right now. He's transferred from the Dakotas to Iowa this year, and he's kind of all over the place. He might fall to the third round, but he might be an arm worth taking and developing and see if you can fix him. And then as far as high school bat, well, I already picked Collier, so I'll add my other favorite college bat is from the University of California, and that's Dylan Beavers, who is pretty good sized kid at 6'4", 206.
I
And he's
like it.
also a lefty bat, something Cubs need. And it would just be awesome to yell out "Go Beavers" at every Cub.
Zoom. I know Zumak would like that.
Yeah.
He was over
So
Cal guy.
really quick, totally.
Yeah.
Dylan Beavers watched him at Oregon State, and people started yelling "Go Beavers!" and yeah,
Was he
so,
going crazy?
actually, we watched it in Eugene, so that wasn't a very funny thing to
Oh,
say.
okay.
They don't like them up there.
No, yeah, you guys, I mean, just wealth of knowledge. I'll limit you guys to one sentence apiece to answer this question. We got two questions about Cubs potential second round pick because we focus so much on the first round.
Yeah.
But I'll limit you guys to about a sentence on who you think the Cubs take in the second round. I'll start with Zumak.
Jacob Zibin, right-handed pitcher. He is 17 years old. He's actually out of Toronto. He is eligible this year, but technically he graduates high school next year. It's kind of a unique thing in Canada, and he fits a lot of what the Cubs might look for. I don't have any super inside information, but I'll go with Jacob Zibin.
I like it. Todd, who you got?
Cade Doughty, second base, LSU, stud.
I like it. I like it, guys. That honestly, I think we could probably go off for a while if we wanted to on second and third round picks. So we won't do that. We'll flip it back over to current Cubs prospects because the questions are still pouring in a little bit here. Jimmy, we'll start off with you because you haven't had a chance to talk for a while. Now that we're back on Cubs prospects, got a question from somebody here, from Casey Allen, asking about where the following guys end up finishing this year. So we got a quartet of guys here. And I'll start off. Maybe I'll give each of us one of these guys. Jimmy, I'll start off with you. You get
I was gonna
DJ
say, don't give me
Hers.
all those names.
Yeah,
The pressure's on.
You get DJ Hers, Jimmy. Where is DJ Hers going to end up the year?
I think Hers gets 2 or 3 starts in Tennessee this year. Just a little kind of cup of tea at the end of the year. I don't know if he's going to throw that many innings for him. Maybe like 7 or 8, because I think we're definitely kind of restricting how much he's going to throw. So I think he'll get like some starts there, but just like a couple innings here or there, just to kind of get his, like I said, just kind of his cup of tea up in Tennessee, where he'll probably start next year. I mean, he's just been so dominant too for South Bend. I mean, there just comes a time where he needs to move up, and I don't necessarily know if it's like that soon because he is still pretty young for South Bend, but I'm still going like around like the 8-9 inning, few starts here at the end of the year in Tennessee.
I'll move down the line here. Todd, you get Owen Casey. Where's Owen Casey going to end the season?
I think he's going to be in Tennessee in September, but probably not until he's going to spend most of the year in South Bend
Similar
learning
looking
about
situation
that.
is what Jimmy thought for DJ Hers, where he just kind of
Yeah.
gets his feet wet in Tennessee, where he gets assigned there to start next year.
Well, I think hers actually. I talked about this a little bit. If he can get to 5, 6 innings consistently the next 6 weeks, he could end up there in July. I think. I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah.
But he's got to be much more efficient to get to Double A.
Yes, definitely has to be much more efficient. I mean, he throws a lot of pitches per plate appearance. Like I think the most pitches per plate appearance in the entire
Yeah.
system. So, Zumac, moving down the line, you get Kevin Alcantara. Where you
Ooh.
get Kevin Alcantara end of the year?
Oh man. Okay, so it'd be
I know
pretty
there's some
easy
people
to
out there pounding the table for him to be in South Bend right now, which that's a
yeah.
little early for me. In my
I
opinion, that's too early. But
Yikes. Okay, that one's really tough. I will be the stick in the mud and say I will guess just Myrtle Beach this year, with then the ability to let him take off next year. So I'll just guess on that. He's really good. I think he's making a lot of adjustments. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he just comes up and just kills it. Um, yeah, I'll just say Myrtle Beach. I'll be the stick in the mud.
I think that's fair. I think
Boo.
that's fair.
I know. I
um, I leave the last
know.
one for me here. I got a question about Jordan Wicks, which I think that I might have gotten the easy one here. Honestly, I think Jordan Wicks ends the season in Tennessee. I mean, I think we see him. It's a pretty similar situation as DJ Hers, but I think that Wicks is obviously. I mean, he's the college arm from last year's draft. Like, I just think that his he works a little bit more efficiently. It just to me, he just shouts that he's going to be up in Tennessee in the next, I'd say, next couple months. Next month, it's June 1st now. I'd say the end of July. I think that Jordan Wicks is going to be up in Double A.
Where do you see Richard Gallardo at the end of the year?
I see Richard Gallardo in South Bend at the end of the year because I think that Richard Gallardo, he's done everything that he can do in Myrtle Beach. There's nothing else that he can do in Myrtle Beach, and like we joke around about we joke around about it, but like actually like I just don't think he's being challenged at all in Myrtle Beach, and that's a good thing for him and his development. Like I think it's good that he is too good for Myrtle Beach. What he does in South Bend is going to be very interesting, and it's going to
Yeah.
be worth noting and worth watching if you are a reader of NorthsideBound.com. Yeah, it's just to me, it's just he's too good for Myrtle Beach at this point.
Yep.
All right, want me to keep going through
His
some of these questions here? I know we got a question about Cole Roeder. Because Cole Roeder today we haven't talked about the minor league promotions, but Cole Roeder today was assigned to Double A Tennessee. Todd, I'll kick it to you first for this question. What do you think the logic behind Cole Roeder being promoted? We saw him go on his rehab assignment to Myrtle Beach, right? That was pretty much what that was,
Yeah.
and then get kicked up to South Bend. Now he's in Tennessee, which is like where, in my opinion, it's like that's where the Cubs want him to be. Like, take out the injury and the lost COVID year, like
Yeah.
they expect him to be in Double A. What do you think about that kind of promotion up there?
Um, it's I have mixed feelings about it. Because he just, when he went to Myrtle Beach and did the rehab, he got in 4 games and hit almost 500 for just 4 games. But it took a while, and you could start to see him press, and then he cranked one out, and he loosened up, and he did a lot better the last week. And so I'm hoping that as part of his development program that they went over with him that we don't privy to, that was part of his development plan, was that he would do a rehab in Myrtle Beach, and that South Bend was also part of that rehab plan, and that the ultimate goal was by the end of the month, you're going to be fully rehabbed and we'll send you to Tennessee. So that might have already been preordained, and we were not aware of that. So
Yeah. Jimmy, what do you think about the Roeder assignment?
I kind of go back and forth too. I think he had like he killed it in Myrtle Beach, and that like level was obviously a little bit too low for him. But I mean, he wasn't putting up the best numbers in South Bend. I think you're right. I think he was kind of pressing a little bit there. We know how much of just like an energy guy he is, and I think he just was really amped to finally be back playing baseball again, having a full year. And I think Todd's right. Like just with the way that this promotion was, I think this was kind of something that was kind of pre-planned. I don't think it was like out on a whim, kind of based on his performance in South Bend. I think it was part of his development plan. They had this plan that they were really going to kind of just try and push him, see what he can do. And I think maybe it might be moving a little bit too fast for him since we haven't really seen him have like that full year of baseball really in a couple years. But I mean, we can see what he can do in Double A. Like talent wise, I don't think he's necessarily like overmatched there or anything like that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a second round pick. He's a super talented guy that has plenty of tools. It's just, he hasn't kind of put them together yet this year, besides at Myrtle Beach, where, he was just kind of levels ahead of the competition there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you guys nailed it there. I mean, just it's a wait and see thing. Let's see what he can do there because it's going to be super
Yeah.
interesting regardless, right? Regardless of if he kills it or not so much, it's going to be interesting to watch.
And you kind of have to think of it too from his point of view. It, I mean, this is his third year there. He's got to be sick.
True.
I mean, the
That's a good
people love
point.
him there, but he's just like, oh man, do I have to go through
Yeah.
this again?
That's
So
the like the mental aspect, like the mental side of thing. That's a good point. I hadn't really considered that, but that's a great point, Todd.
yeah, so I mean, it's got to be deflating. It's like, okay, you're done at Myrtle Beach. Oh, am I going to Tennessee? No, you're gonna go to
That's yeah, that's a
South
good
Bend
point.
again.
Yeah.
So
I want to kick. So I got a couple more questions here. We got a few minutes left. I want to end with the most positive thing we possibly can. So first, I'm going to kick it to Zumak here about Brennan Davis because we can't go this entire show without talking about the Cubs' top prospect. We got a question if we will see Brennan Davis in Chicago this year. What do you think? I mean, it's depending on the injury, but I mean, you're the medical guy here of this group, so you should know all the details, right?
Ooh, okay. So I'll be pretty clear. Like none of this is medical information. Yeah, I mean, yeah, come on, man. No,
That was rough.
so
Sorry.
that's all right. I'm just teasing. Yeah. So if I had to say so, I would say yes. And
Yeah.
when I talked to Brennan before the year, obviously this is pre-injury, he said his goal is to start in one place and end in another, just like he did last year. I think that still happens this year. I think the injury, I won't comment on any specifics, and I haven't heard like a ton of details, but I think it's something that it's not like a minor tweak. I think it's going to be something he's going to work back from. Uh, but we've seen that he's been able to come back from injuries before. He's got a really good mentality to it. And I think, yes, it's June 1st. I think he gets some at bats at the end of the year and he gets to kind of just get used to being a Chicago Cub. And I think the goal is next season he just starts in Chicago. I'm not talking with any inside information, but like if I had to just guess on how that views, I would say that that would be what happens. And then the Cubs would be in line potentially for a draft pick if he goes out and finishes in the top three in the rookie of the year. Not like they're holding him back, but just
Mm-hmm.
his injury held him down. Now let's make the best of it. And that's what I'm just guessing.
Hey, spoiler alert: the Chicago Cubs are not very good at baseball. So, yeah, by the end of the year, let's see what the top prospect in the system, who is pretty close to major league ready, can do. I completely agree. So we got 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left to talk. So we gotta end the episode here, in the show here, talking about Pete Crow Armstrong because he was just promoted up to South Bend from Myrtle Beach, and he is the most exciting part of the Cubs system right now. I mean, there's a lot of excitement going on, but like he's been the guy that everybody's talking about day in and day out. So I guess give all four of us a chance to kind of talk about Pete Crow Armstrong to a certain degree in whatever way you guys want to address his promotion, address how good he was in Myrtle Beach, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll start with Zumak.
I didn't think you were starting with me, so I totally put myself on mute there. Pete's awesome. I started him as my number 2 prospect. I love that. I feel comfortable with that. So, real quick thing on PCA. I didn't think he'd be already popping 7 home runs. I knew that he was using his legs more in his swing. I knew that we had had feedback over the winter that he was really actually grooving the ball very well in a good way, not in a groove swing way. And 7 home runs. He's got 7 home runs in. Actually, just pulling up your stat page. Nice job, Huss. I think it's 183 plate appearances. That's
38
like
games.
20 plus home runs potentially, in a full
Mhm.
season. That is impressive. And so, yes, he's still doing everything we want him to, but he's popping. He should pop double digit home runs. PCA's
Mhm.
killer.
Mhm. Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Todd, what you got on PCA?
Well, when we haven't really talked about when we're going to redo our prospect list. But I was assuming that we would redo them in August after the draft and the trade deadline. And I think you have to consider him at one. I mean, you may not put him at one, but you definitely have to consider him. If he pops at South Bend, on the verge of Tennessee by August 1, oh my God, you
Yeah.
have to consider him to overtake Brennan Davis. I know
That
that's hot.
No, I think that pretty much explains it all as far as the hype around PCA right now. I think you nailed it, Todd.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
That's
Oh,
where
sorry,
I'm at.
Jimmy. What you got on PCA, real quick here?
Yeah, I think Todd's right. I think in comparison with, and Zumac's right too. I think in comparison with Brennan Davis, the way that they project, I feel like only Brennan kind of edges him out in power. But I think what we've seen so far, hit tool wise, way he runs, I mean, his glove right now in center field's like major league ready. I mean, just defensively, he's going to be one of the best center fielders probably in Major League Baseball once he's called up. And I mean, I can see that argument for him kind of getting up there at number one. I think right now I'd still have him at number two behind Davis, but I mean, the power that's come along has just been, I think, the story of his year so far. I mean, I know he's batting like 370 or something like that, or was in Myrtle Beach, but I mean, just being able to hit 7 home runs out there from a guy that we weren't expecting much power from is, kind of just been the story of this year. And if he can continue doing that at each level, I mean, I think that's definitely the thing to kind of watch out for. Because I mean, he could be a center fielder that's going to be like a 20 home run, I think even like 30-ish steals, I think, in a year. That's going to give you potentially like gold glove level elite defense out there. I mean, that's a guy that could be ranked very, very high in all of baseball, I think, in the next year or two. He just finally
He's
cracked the top
not a
100
talent
list at
anymore.
Pipeline, but I think he has a lot more room to gain, especially if he continues doing what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I completely
Yep.
agree. And I'll close out this PCA love fest with just saying that something I've been saying for a while now. It's that when he came into the year, the only, I mean, the big question marks that we had with PCA were the power, and then if he would continue to draw walks like we hoped he would. And I was saying if he didn't do either of those things, then he was still a guy. Like, he was still a legit prospect. If he did one of those things, that like he's a legit like top 100 guy for sure. If he does both of those things, he's one of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball, like all of Major League, and he's doing both of those things. He's hitting for power and he's taking walks. And I mean, you can't. He is literally doing it all right now, and you can't ask for anything else. The only thing you could ask for is that he continues to do it as he gets promoted up the ladder. And so we'll see how he does in South Bend. But I am very excited to see him do that. And he's doing it. He's going to be doing it in South Bend now that the weather's better too. He's not going to be dealing with the Owen Casey effect, freezing cold weather and not being able to hit when it's
Ooh.
30 degrees and snowing.
That Sunday I was in Davenport. Um, it said it was 50 degrees. I don't believe it because it was just. I had gloves on and a stocking hat and compression socks on both legs and 3 shirts, and I was like, okay, fourth inning, I'm done. I gotta go.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys. You guys, anybody have anything else you want to throw in before we wrap things up here?
No, man,
I'll let
it's
every
gonna be. Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be a really fun month at Northside Bound. We've got some great pieces that we've been kind of tossing back and forth, and just yeah, this is gonna be a great month. We got minor league stuff going, draft firing up. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, big month ahead. So you can find all of us on the Twitters. You can find at Nelligan Jimmy, at Cub Central 08, at Ivy Futures, and at Out of the Vines. I'm impressed that I knew all of you guys.
I'm
It might be
impressed.
sad. It might be sad that I knew all of you guys. I don't know, but be sure to follow us there. Check out the website, like Zumac said, northsidebound.com. Plenty of good content will be going up there all throughout the month of June. And thank you guys all for tuning in and listening.
Thanks.